A lot of you guys have been asking for this one, so in this video I'm gonna show you how I set up my Sony a7 II for filmmaking. What's up everybody, this is Mike, and since I have published more videos like you have just seen, I got a lot of questions regarding how I set up my Sony a7 II for filmmaking, which setting I'm choosing, which color profile I shoot in, how I color grade my videos and so on. And to be honest, when I started filmmaking in the beginning of this year and pressed the video button on my Sony a7 II for the first time, I had no idea what is important and what you should focus on when it comes to set up your camera for filmmaking. But I have put a lot of work in it to figure out what's really important, and now I wanted to give you a quick guide to set up your Sony a7 II for videography. And to answer the most asked question, can you really get some good videos with the Sony a7 II? Yes, you can, but you should probably know how to set it up correctly. So let's get started with the video. And the first thing we are noticing is that the Sony a7 II is not capable of capturing 4K footage, so 1080p is what we are going for. And sure, 4K would be way cooler, but I just don't want to spend another $1,000 to get the a7 III, so I'm fine with this for the beginning. And to be honest, I don't think that the difference to 4K is not that huge, especially that I'm recording most of the time YouTube videos. Now the second thing you need to understand is the frame rate to choose. And as you can tell by the name, frames per second, it's making a difference how many frames your camera records in 1 second. And again, it's not that hard to decide because the Sony a7 II only got two opportunities. One is 24 FPS and the other one is 50 FPS. So what's the difference? And 24 FPS is what gives you the cinematic look when you want to play back your video in real time. Because this is what gives you the kind of motion blur when things are moving. But you should keep in mind that you cannot slow this down in the post-production. This is why I shoot almost everything in 50 FPS, because your camera records more images in 1 second and you can slow it down by 50%. And with a nice and slow camera movement, it looks quite cinematic. So again, I recommend you, when you are not sure whether you want to play back your video in 100% speed, go with 50 FPS. The difference is only slightly and you can still slow it down in the post-production and play with some time ramping, which is pretty cool. Only when I record scenes like this, where I'm just talking and I'm 100% sure that I'm not gonna slow it down, I'm recording with 24 FPS. Then you have the settings shutter, ISO and f-stop. And to keep that short, your shutter should always double your frame rate, which means you have to go with 1/50 for 24 frames per second and 1/100 for 50 frames per second. And this gives you kind of the cinematic look again, but to be honest, this is not really making a huge difference, and I like to play around with the shutter to just balance the light correctly. And my f-stop is almost always the widest open, and 2.8 for my Tamron lens and 1.8 for my 50mm prime lens by Sony. This just gives you the nice and blurry background we all want to have. And my ISO is almost stick to 400 because of the color profile I'm shooting with, but I'm coming to this later. And just in situations where it's really dark and I want to pump up the light, I just go up with the ISO to 2000 or whatever I need. When it comes to focusing, I used to shoot with the AFC. This is the continuous autofocus by Sony, and I am pretty happy with how it works on the Sony a7 II, but it also depends on which lens you're using. Because with the Tamron it performs really well, but when I'm shooting with my prime lens by Sony, it's honestly terrible. And it just pumps and making also some noises I don't want to have in my videos when I use the audio. So this is why I used to focus more in manual when I have the prime lens on. And actually, when I put my camera on the tripod and get some B-roll scenes, I used to shoot in manual focus because then I don't get the focus jumps. And maybe that's why the prime lens by Sony just cost 300 euros. But let's get to the color profile. and this really makes a huge difference. So you want to make sure to get a nice and flat image without in-camera sharpening, because this just doesn't look good. And your bitrate should be as high as possible so that you have a lot of information you can work with in the post-production. And I used to shoot in S-Log2, but to be honest, this is not the color profile I enjoy shooting with, because you have always be aware that you're overexposing your image so that you can color grade and post correctly. And in post-production it is absolutely great to work with, no doubts about that, but you have to adapt quite a lot of things, which makes your workflow pretty slow, and I just don't really like this. This is why I prefer to shoot in Cine 4. This gives you quite a flat image, and I love to work with this in the post-production. So instead of talking about every single setting, I think it's better to put a picture anywhere here so you can hit pause and just screenshot it right now. So this is actually how I set up my Sony a7 II for filmmaking, and I hope this was helpful for you and you can now go out and shoot some nice videos with your camera. If you have already some nice videos, just link it in the comments and I will check them out for sure. And with that said, I hope you liked it. If so, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you like this video. Oh, and if you're interested in more videos about how I shoot with my Sony a7 II, you want to make sure that you subscribe to my channel, because I'm just about to move to Paris in almost 3 months. Oh, sorry, 3 weeks. Time is just flying by. And yeah, I'm super hyped for this time over there and going to record some nice videos here for you, and I will definitely share them. So stay tuned, have a nice day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.